Hello, I'm Lexi Hamilton-Smith from Queensland Urban Utilities. Now, we might be just 3 years old, but we're well aware of the tough challenges our forefathers faced in the 1800s, trying to provide some sort of water and sewage services to a very fast-growing population. Water holes and creeks, they were polluted and supply was scarce. And when it came to raw sewage, it was one gigantic headache, not to mention the health risks. Well, this year we celebrate 150 years of the urban water story. It's been an amazing journey of resilience and foresight. Let's take a look.
It would have been a musty smell, you would have smelt the waste, and it would have been really bad early in the morning. Lots of flies, and gotten worse as the day went on.
Parliament has pointed out that Brisbane's sanitary system is a disgrace to such a large community. The present system of dealing with night soil is extremely unsatisfactory.
Where the current Roma Street Transit Centre is, and the King George Square, was actually pools and lakes and ponds, and that's where we got all our water from.
The original supply, which goes through Roma Street today, was quite polluted with concentrated population, also very unreliable.
It was really interesting to learn that Tank Street was actually named because it was Tank at Tank Street.
So that was piped around the city with not a lot of treatment at that time.
It wasn't very large though, and it's quickly sort of outstripped by the population, and really the people's activities in the area both sort of needed to use it but polluted the supply at the same time, so they had to come up with a better way of supplying water.
So this is where it all began. Our city forefathers realised in the 1860s that if the city was to keep growing, it needed a reliable, clean water supply, hence the Nogger Dam.
And that was enabled through the passing of legislation, which was the first Brisbane Waterworks Act, which is 150 years old now.
Laid a pipeline into Brisbane, tunnelled through Barden and tunnelled through Paddington. Very, very hard rock. Records indicate that it was so hard that the miners used to manage about 3 inches a day. That kept the city going, and 1885 Gull Creek was completed.
Again, sort of an alarmingly short-term solution, and then by the late 1880s they had pretty much exhausted those supplies and they had to look for the next really big thing. Instead of having to use a mountain to capture your water out, what they did is they pumped water from a pumping station. Fantastic foresight. They prepared a scheme here really, or the framework for a scheme that lasted over a century. Very clear thinking on their part. A bunch of Scottish engineers really got their stuff together. They'd been given the lead by Ipswich, who'd taken water from Colo since 1878.
Quite staggeringly, in the 1890s, they built a pipeline from Mount Crosby right through the city and to Bartley's Hill.
The site you see now, the reservoir, it was built in about the 1900s, 1920s. We're in the middle of Ascot, so they were using explosives, they were using horse and carts, they were using horse-drawn scoops to construct a lot of what we see today. There was no ready-mix concrete truck turned up. We have to admire those early pioneers. They put in lots of blood, sweat and tears to put in the infrastructure that we actually take for granted today.
Somerset was started in the 1930s. North Pine Dam followed in 1976, and then Wivenhoe, of course. And Wivenhoe is some 250 times larger than Enoggera here. Lots of people can remember the old outhouses at the back of the house. They're gone these days. It was the major drive for the city, there's no question about that.
For each of those houses that we see down here in the buildings, there are pipes that take the sewage away to pump stations, and to the east of us at Luggage Point, there's a plant that will treat wastewater for some 700,000 or 800,000 people.
When I talk to people and explain to them how the water network works or how the sewage network works, people are generally fascinated. You're talking about something like 18,000 kilometres. So I think that's about the same as flying from Brisbane to London.
It's amazing. We call it the hidden asset or the hidden service.
Today we have so much technology, but it doesn't compare to the days when they didn't have that technology, but they still managed to put all this infrastructure in for the people of Brisbane.
It's different to the old days, to the old valves that you see here. It's all by pushing the button, like on your microwave at home.
Control room, this is James. We can turn the reservoirs up, down, empty them, reduce the pressure, increase pressure. We pretty much run the whole network.
We have a team of samplers who go out every day in their specially equipped vehicles. There's some sample points around Brisbane. There's about 180 altogether that are sampled each week. A huge area that we cover every week to ensure the quality of drinking water.
Residents in the state of Queensland hung on for dear life as raging water.
Water's, everybody knows it's essential. It's been 150 years of droughts and floods. It won't stop. It's the nature of the environment, and we learn to deal with it.
Another 150 years, I can't fathom what it will be like.
Right now, we've got 2 controllers that normally run from here that could control the whole network and the field staff. Whereas, in the olden days, well, just getting water to your house would have been an achievement. You got to tip your hat to them.
Since Queensland Urban Utilities was formed in 2010, our purpose has been to enrich the quality of life. And looking back over the history, 150 years of the urban water story, you can really see how the people that have come before us have done exactly that, enriched the quality of life.